So our presentation is on abortion laws. Okay, so what is an abortion? An abortion is a voluntary termination of a pregnancy prior to the development of a child. The procedure expels the embryo or fetus from the body, usually before it can survive outside a parent. Now, if we were in class, I would have asked my classmates to name several methods of abortion, but because we're recording, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about them. So there are various methods of abortion. The first, medication. Medication abortion you can usually use from 0 to 10 weeks. It's also known as the abortion pill, which is taking 2 sets of medication several hours apart, and it is effective up to 10 weeks after your last menstrual cycle. Third, we have the aspiration abortion, which is 5 to 15 weeks. Is a clinic procedure that removes the embryo or fetus, along with the uterine line using gentle suction. Third, there's dilation and evacuation, which is 15 weeks and more, and it's also known as the D&E abortion. It combines suction with the use of forceps and to terminate the pregnancy. About 25.1 million unsafe abortions are performed each year worldwide. 50 countries have liberalized their abortion laws over the past 25 years. Some countries that still prohibit abortion altogether are El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Senegal, Sierra Leone, the Congo, Madagascar, Egypt, Iraq, Laos, and Philippines. In total, there are 16 total countries that prohibit abortion across the board. About 41% of women still live in countries with restrictive abortion laws. So next I'm going to talk about history of abortion laws in the world. So in the biblical era, if a woman was to commit adultery or is even suspected to commit adultery, the husband must bring his wife to the priest, who will serve her bitter water that brings curse, which is essentially condemning her to miscarry. And in ancient Egypt, the Kahun papyrus outlines the use of crocodile dung in a dough that is inserted into the vagina as a spermicide, which will induce a miscarriage. Ancient Greeks, Romans, and Europeans used a drug called pennyroyal, and it was used in several ways, including as a culinary herb, a low dose of birth control, and pest control, and more. So you can see that it was a very poisonous drug, I would say. In ancient China, they used mercury as a method of forcing a miscarriage. Their ancient handwritten texts also include 48 volumes with prescriptions for abortion. In America, around the 1600s, African women brought as slaves to the United States were using cottonwood to abort as a result of rape, typically from slave owners. And now I'm going to go into the history of abortion in the United States. Abortion laws have been and continue to be a controversial topic in the United States. Here I have listed some years, but before I go into that, I am going to discuss some facts. Sorry. Okay. In the United States, abortion was originally legal. Abortion was widely practiced primarily using herbs with the assistance of midwives and other female healers. Some of the earliest anti-abortion laws were poison control measures passed in the mid-century in response to chemical abortions that became popular at the time. But by the late 19th century, most states had laws banning abortion except to save the life or health of the pregnant person. The move to ban abortions occurred for a variety of reasons. First, it was a part of the backlash against the growing women's rights movement, which advocated for voluntary motherhood. Even though the movement did not support abortion, the demand for birth control was a great threat to male dominance. Restricting abortion was a part of an effort to control women and confine them to traditional childbearing roles. It was also a way for men in the newly established medical profession to wrest control over highly profitable business of childbirth from midwives, who were judged for performing abortions. So not only was it a way to keep women under control, but it was also a way to profit off of women. So that's an economic and social issue that involves abortions. The attacks on abortion access can also be rooted in racism and white supremacy. While white doctors often targeted black midwives, people seeking to combat what they called race suicide, specifically of Catholic immigrants, and the declining birth rate among U.S.-born white Protestant women in the late 1800s. The U.S. government posed a concern about race suicide and wanted white Protestant women to have more children. So this can be said that it became also a race issue, and this is something that I didn't know prior to this research. Now in 1821, in 1821, in Connecticut, the first restrictive law on abortion was passed, making it illegal for a pregnant woman to receive or take any type of poison intended for miscarriage. And by poison, I mean any method of abortion. Contributing to this was the popularity of pennyroyal and other such said drugs, which take incorrectly or too high dose can cause death. In 1860, 20 states had laws against abortion. In 1873, the Comstock Law criminalized contraception and abortion, except in cases deemed absolutely necessary by a licensed doctor. In 1890, more status restricting abortion unless medically necessary cropped up the United States, advocated by the American Medical Association. In 1896, the Chicago Health Department enforced rules on their midwives that disallowed them to own any instrument used in abortion procedures. There was also a growing trend in facilities, organizations, and even newspapers to diminish reputations for abortionists. It became a long campaign and very challenging for the public to oppose this opinion on abortion. I'm going to continue reading more about the history of abortion in the United States. But before I get into that, I want to speak about the Supreme Court's landmark case, Roe versus Wade, which this decision that is a decision that legalized abortion in 1973. Some well-trained physicians and other medical practitioners risked imprisonment, fines, and loss of their medical license to provide abortions. In the late 1960s, the Clergy Consultation Service on Abortion, a network of concerned pastors and rabbis, set up referral services to help women find a safer way for illegal abortions. Early second-wave feminist groups formed their own independent referral groups in Chicago. A group of trained lay women called the Abortion Counseling Service for Chicago's Women Liberation Union went even further, creating an underground feminist abortion service in 1969. Their group, whose code name was Jane, provided safe, inexpensive, and supported illegal abortions. Over a 4-year period, the group provided more than 11,000 first and second trimester abortions with a safety record comparable to that of today's legal medical facilities. In 1965, Griswold versus Connecticut, a court case about contraception, ruled in favor of women's privacy. In 1967, Colorado relaxed its abortion laws. In 1970 to 1974, more states relaxed their abortion laws, including Alaska, Hawaii, New York, and Washington. In 1972, Ernstad and Baird determined that married couples have the right to the information involving contraception. In 1973, elected and voluntary abortions remained illegal until Roe v. Wade, which ruled that women had the right to privacy, which included their decisions to terminate. In 1976, the Hyde Amendment passed, preventing the funding of abortion through Medicaid. In 2000, Steinberg and Carhart ruled against the ban on partial birth abortions by Nebraska law. The ruling on this case by the Supreme Court eliminated 29 other statewide bans. In 2003, after passed by Congress, President Bush signed into law a federal ban on all abortion procedures, which was immediately struck down by the National Abortion Federation in court.
Alright, so I'm gonna talk about the women's rights movement. The women's rights movement, which is also known as the liberation movement, which sought equal rights and opportunities and greater personal freedom for women. And I'm also gonna talk about the Roe versus Wade case, which the Supreme Court recognized that the right to abortion is fundamental. It's a fundamental liberty which was protected